This week, Trump announced a plan for sweeping tariffs across the board against basically every single country on Earth. He called it Liberation Day, which I guess means we're just being liberated from the money in our wallets. And maybe it's like a good thing for us photographers because we're being liberated from gear acquisition syndrome, because it's probably going to be a lot easier to talk yourself out of buying that new camera or lens now because it's going to be a good deal more expensive. I wanted to make this quick little bonus video this week to take a look at what these tariffs are, how they're affecting the photography industry, specifically like the gear that we need to use to do our jobs, and then maybe what we can do about it, if anything. What's up? My name is Walter. I am a wedding photographer and commercial filmmaker based in the southeastern United States. I usually only make one video a week. You might have noticed this is the second video this week that I'm putting out, but this was kind of a big news story, and as somebody who, one, holds a degree in journalism, and two, is a working photographer and video producer, this is something that I think is going to affect the work that I do, and it's going to affect the whole photography and video community in general. Let's first take a look at what these tariffs are going to most likely do to camera prices. So according to The Guardian, China is getting hit the hardest with these tariffs, bringing their total tariffs charged to the US to 67% on all imported goods from China to the US. This will most heavily affect photographers wanting to purchase anything from Canon, Sony, Fujifilm, Panasonic, or Tamron, as all those companies manufacture a lot of, if not all of their stuff in China. Japan's also getting hit with a total of 46% on all imported goods, affecting photographers wanting to purchase anything from Canon, Nikon, Fujifilm, and Sigma, as those companies manufacture stuff in Japan. Thailand is getting hit with a total, if I'm reading this right, a total of 72% on all imported goods, which will heavily affect photographers wanting to purchase anything from the big three, Canon, Nikon, and Sony. These are not the only three countries that are going to be affected by these tariffs, specifically for like camera equipment. Several other countries who manufacture cameras, lenses, and parts for cameras and lenses are also being heavily affected, like Taiwan, Malaysia, and Vietnam. The most important thing to remember in this situation is that these countries are not the ones paying these import taxes. Let me say this very clearly for anybody, including our dear old president, who seems to not understand this. These countries are not the ones paying these taxes. The cost for these goods will be passed down to me and you and anybody else who wants to purchase normal stuff that they need for their businesses. Specifically for us, cameras, lenses, flashes, all of that kind of stuff comes from these other countries, and they're not going to foot the bill, and the US government is not going to foot the bill, leaving us to foot that bill. There's a helpful chart that Sony Alpha Rumors put out, which it's Sony Alpha Rumors, so take it with a bit of a grain of salt, but they put this helpful chart out that kind of puts it into perspective a lot easier. For example, the Sony a7 IV, a camera that I actually bought last year, will now cost $3,400 instead of the original MSRP of $2,500. Now, these are all projected numbers. I want to be very clear about that. Any of this is subject to change, and it could be a little different in real life as opposed to what it's projected, on the internet. So I guess take all of this with a little bit of grain of salt, but we are just looking at hard numbers here. We're looking at what the percentage of these tariffs that's going to hit these goods, and comparing it to what we are currently paying for those goods. It's simple math. I'm not a mathematician. I'm not an econ major. I'm not a poli-sci major. I'm just a guy who's looking at numbers here that people much smarter than me have put together. The main point of this video is that this is very bad. This might sound obvious to say, but this is all very bad for photographers. I'm not even getting into how these tariffs are going to affect like everyday items like gas, groceries, or literally anything else that you pay for in your day-to-day life. And yes, you shouldn't be purchasing new equipment all the time anyway, but sometimes you find yourself in a tight spot where you might need something. You got a new job or a new recurring gig coming up where you're going to need a specific camera or lens to do certain type of stuff, or one of your cameras or lenses breaks and you need to buy something really quickly to make up for that. Have fun after these tariffs hit, because you're now going to be paying a good deal more for that stuff. And anytime that you have to all of a sudden pay a lot more for stuff that you need in the first place, and there's nothing you can do about it, that is extremely frustrating. So I hope this doesn't come across as like me being super political and making any kind of statement, because like this is not a political channel. I am a photographer and video producer. That is what I talk about on this channel. So I'm not trying to make a statement one way or the other, but I think this picture on the screen speaks for how I feel about all of this. So yes, cameras and lenses will probably be a lot more expensive now. And unfortunately, because now everything is more expensive, we're not really going to be able to raise our prices as photographers to make up for that rising equipment cost, because guess who's also paying a lot more money for everything? Our clients. So say you are a commercial photographer or video producer, you have a recurring contract with some retail place in town, maybe they're a clothing store, like a small boutique or something like that. Hey, their prices also just rose for importing all of their goods as well. And so when costs rise and profit is not rising with it, what's the first thing that businesses cut? Marketing and advertising. And if you are in the line of work that I am in, that's going to affect you. So I'm not saying let me be very clear. I'm not saying you're going to lose clients or they're going to cut down on the services they're using with you. I really hope that does not happen. I don't want that to happen for the work that we're doing as well. But it is something to be aware of. We can't raise our prices to reflect the rising cost of our equipment, because the people that do work with us are not going to be able to, they're going to be hesitant to pay that much as well, because they're also dealing with this on their end as well. So what can we do? Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot we can do as individuals to affect any kind of systemic change at this point with this particular thing that's going on. But here's what I'm going to be focusing on. Here's how I'm thinking I'm trying to respond to all of this. And so take this as you will. If you can do some or all of these things as well, maybe you can get something valuable out of this. I'm going to be holding out on buying any new equipment for the foreseeable future unless absolutely necessary, like if anything of mine breaks or I get some kind of new ongoing gig where a new lens or something like that becomes necessary. I don't foresee anything like that happening. The work I'm doing is pretty consistent, and we have all the equipment that we need to be doing all that, which is, I fully recognize my privilege in saying that we're in a good spot equipment-wise. And if I do need to purchase any new equipment, I'm going to try to buy used or refurbished, which I always try to do anyway, but I'm going to be like even more hard on that. I'm going to buy local if I can, like Facebook Marketplace and stuff like that, and just stop spending as much in general as I have been. I'm going to stop being afraid to be so political. I'm not even talking about social justice issues here, okay? So I'm not talking about any of the things that keep people like really mad for some reason. I'm purely talking about the economy, which is kind of the main reason that people made voting decisions last year. How is that going for you right now? Was the economy the main thing that you voted for or thought you were voting for? How's it looking to you right now? How do you feel about all of this? Speaking of voting, that is the last thing that you can do here to try to affect some kind of change. There are some special elections popping up here and there across the country, but especially next year in 2026, as midterms roll around, it's time to speak with your vote and, hey, maybe stop voting Republican, because every time we get them where they're at, this kind of stuff happens. Let's learn. Let's make mistakes. That's fine. But let's try to learn from those mistakes. Okay? It's becoming abundantly clear that this administration is just fundamentally reckless and stupid. And it might take a huge shock to the system, like these tariffs, for people who voted for this and support this to understand how stupid they actually are. So that might be kind of the only silver lining, the only positive to any of this, is that if you voted for this, if you supported this, if you thought, this might be a good thing, I would like for you to take a second, look around, do some self-reflection, maybe even some critical thinking, and see that this isn't super ideal. And it's okay. I'm not mad at you. I don't think you're stupid. I think you've been duped. I think you've been misguided. And that's okay. It's okay to make mistakes. It's happened to me too. I get it. It's fine. So I'm not mad. I would just like you to learn from these mistakes here, because it's okay. We learn and we grow and we become better. So that would be the last thing I say about this. is that it might look really bad right now because it is really bad right now, but we still have hope. Because there are hopefully some sane people around, both in power and voting for those in power, who can affect some kind of change, hopefully in the near future. Sorry if that video made you mad. If you have some legitimate, if you actually have some kind of factual based evidence against the things that I'm saying in this video, please respectfully leave them in the comments. I will have a good faith, respectful conversation with you if you started off that way. I'm trying to be better and grow as well. So you know what? If you say something stupid, I'm going to try to say something nice to you back. That's the end of this video for this week. I just wanted to cover this, get my thoughts out there, and maybe hear from other people how they're feeling about it, how they're going to be affected. Please don't do this again. Please don't vote. Come on. I'm begging you. That's the end of this video. If you'd like to stick around for non-political stuff, because this is not going to be a habit of mine, then please subscribe. And if you don't want to subscribe because I'm some kind of wokey or liberal lunatic, whatever you want to call me, that's fine. I guess I didn't want you here in the first place because you're super irritating to deal with. But otherwise, subscribe. And if you don't subscribe, that's fine, because I will see you in the algorithm in 6 months.